Are women truly undervalued in the workplace? Well, if you listen to Forbes, the answer, sadly, is a resounding yes. Their research assessed the career records of approximately 30,000 employees last year and discovered women were 14% less likely to be promoted, and when they dug into the reason why, they discovered the leadership potential of female employees was consistently undervalued. Vivian Gray is on a mission to help women achieve success by leveraging their divine feminine and masculine. She's an entrepreneur who has taught, coached, and mentored women for over 2 decades. And she's also held some prominent corporate roles as well. Gray considers it a privilege to have helped women achieve personal growth, their career goals, their financial security, and optimizing their health and wellness. And for the last 5 years, she's been collaborating with women on their success journey in her studio, helping them to tap into their femininity and self-confidence to accelerate the process of transformation in all aspects of their lives. And Gray joined me this week to tell me more. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Vivian, if you're ready, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program. I'm super excited to talk to you today all about how you give women a sense of empowerment. Great to be with you this morning, and happy birthday.
Thank you so much. I'm really honored to be here, and I'm excited to talk with you today.
Absolutely. No. Vivian, I know you're on a mission to help women sort of gain their self-confidence by regaining sort of their feminine and masculine side. So I'm wondering if you can tell me about all the good work that you do.
Sure. So I've been working with women for over 20 years now in both the corporate world, and also I own a movement art studio. So I've been trying to really help women find a way to find balance in their lives and still achieve the success and the things they want in life. And so throughout my career, I've mentored women in career success, and in the studio, I've really been trying to help women tap into finding confidence in who they are and who they want to be and how they feel about themselves and their bodies, and really ground into finding a way to find their authentic selves.
Yeah, fabulous. And I also understand that you're a previous veteran. So happy Veterans Day, and thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you.
And tell me, because I know that you joined the military to carve out a better life for your daughter, and I also know at the age of 40, you really did a self-assessment of your life, and you really got on the path that you are today. So I'm wondering if you can dive into that for me.
Definitely. So I was a young mother. I had my daughter at 19. So didn't have money for school anymore. So I decided to go into the military. I come from a military family, so it was very instinctual, very natural to go into the military. And the Army helped me kind of build a foundation of doing work, but I ended up injuring myself. I hurt my back and had to get out. And when I got out the military, there wasn't a lot of jobs available. And I was looking around trying to find, so I took temp jobs and just worked whatever job that was available. And that's how I got into the financial industry. I started work as a temporary employee. At the company that I work for now, I started as an application taker and really worked my way through the organization and climbed the corporate ladder. Right now, I'm a VP. I do regulatory compliance. And as I grew in my career and my children grew, when I turned 40, I realized I've been doing all of this stuff. I've been, an employee, I've been a wife, I've been a mother, I've been so many things, but I did not know who I was as Vivian, just an individual person as a woman. And that was a really scary point for me, because now that I no longer had, my children didn't need me every day. And as a caretaker for my husband, his health had stabilized, so he didn't need me every day. So what the heck was I going to do other than work myself to death in my job? So I really had to start to evaluate, how do I find who I was as a person, as a woman, as an individual, not attached to anyone else. And that was, that journey started at 40.
Yeah, and to that point, I'm fascinated to ask you, how do you define the term women's empowerment? What does that mean to you, and helping women really achieve more of their personal growth?
So I have a very kind of inward definition of women's empowerment. I feel that women's empowerment means that you as a person understand and is very comfortable with your authentic self. You know who you are, you know what you stand for, you know what you believe in, and you're not afraid to voice that, and you're not afraid to show that. And that, I believe, is the root of empowerment for women, is really being able to stand in who you are and what you believe in without having to be validated by other people in that.
Yeah, we talk about career sort of ascension. Most women have to struggle to get noticed in leadership positions, and I know that you also help women with their career success as well as their overall wellness. So when we look at career success for women, how do you view progress in that area?
We've made a lot of progress in that area. Just myself as an example, I'm a VP in the financial industry. When I first started out, there were not a lot of women in those positions. As much progress as we've made, I think there's still a lot more to be made, because as we start to fill these upper level officer positions in companies, there's still not a huge amount of women CEOs, but we are starting to break that barrier. I think what I want to help women do, and what I think my struggle was as I was coming up in my career, I felt as though I had to be a certain kind of way in order to see success, right? I had to be very assertive. I had to be very dominant. I had to really kind of I don't like to say this, but I had to act like a man, right? In order to play with the boys, I had to act like a man. And that really is a struggle sometimes for women, right? It's okay for a man to be assertive and bold and speak his mind, but in industries and in the corporate world, it was not okay for a woman to do that. And women were looked down upon when you were too strong and too bold and spoke up too much. So now I'm seeing some shifts, but I'm also wanting to see some shifts of it's okay to be nurturing. in that spaces. As a leader, it's okay to show some emotions. It's okay not to, be that proverbial B word, right? So I definitely am seeing a switch, and I'm loving it. But I think more women need to feel that they have permission to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to follow up on that, I'm curious if you believe having vulnerability and really being more emotional as a leader is an advantage for women leaders in terms of really meeting people where they are and being able to relate to the people that they serve.
I definitely believe that. In my early stages of management, my managers would coach me, and they're like, "People think you're unapproachable. People are afraid of you," and I'm like, "I don't know what they're talking about. I'm approachable. You could come to me." They're like, "But you're very analytical. You're very objective, and there's no emotion there. You told someone it's not okay to cry." I'm like, "But we're at work. It's not okay to cry." And as I've grown and as I've matured and as I've learned, you know what? There is a time and space for that. People come onto my team and they're like, I had an employee tell me, I was really afraid to come to your team, but I don't ever want to leave because I know that you have my back. If I need something, you will support me, you will hear me out. And I think there's space. And as a good leader, you got to know when to balance those things. You got to know when to use analytical and logic, and you got to know when they're to tap into emotion and know that your employee is feeling some kind of way or going through something and shift through that with them. So I think there is a balance, and that's definitely exactly what I'm trying to teach women, that there is a balance to that. And there is a time when you can tap into being strong. And that's really what I'm talking about. The divine masculine and the divine feminine. Those are the two shifts. So when to be strong, when to be nurturing, when to be logical, when to go with flow and be flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vivian, just before I ask you about your studio, I have to tell you that one of my personal passions is working with men and women with disabilities because I was born with the spastic quadriplegia cerebral palsy. So I help businesses outside of this podcast really up the ante when it comes to hiring folks with disabilities. And last month was actually National Disability Employment Awareness Month. So
Okay.
tell me about your thoughts on how important it is to give women with disabilities a shot at the workplace.
So I feel that there is talent in all kinds of people, and it is very, technically with my back issues, I'm a disabled veteran, and it really helps to open up opportunities for people, because just because there's something different doesn't mean there is not value in people. And in my studio, one of the things that people love is there's such a diversity of people in the studio. I try to make it so everybody feels welcome. And even my students, I try not to be, while the things that we do can be very fitness oriented, but we are a community-based studio. So we are open up to people who just want to find a place, women that want to find a place to just find community, find people to be with. So taking that approach allowed us to have a very diverse group of women. So we have women who had, surgeries, multiple surgeries, people who have disabilities, people who have, disabilities that you don't even really see in the surface. So the thing that I've been told is that being open to all kinds of people have made the the studio a place that people want to come to. And that's, I think all jobs, all organizations need to figure out a way to make it feel comfortable for people to come, no matter what they come as, right? Come as you are, and we will find a place for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Vivian, part of the mission of your studio is helping women transform every aspect of their lives. So I'm wondering if you can tell me about the good work that you do in the studio, because I know it really helps women really find out who they are as a person, both individually and professionally as well.
So we are a movement art studio. We do what I call non-traditional movement, and we do central movement, we do pole dance, we do chair dance, we do aerial yoga, we do a lot of different things. And within that, we also try to use the apparatus, use whatever the tool is of dance inside the classroom to help women kind of come out of their shells and feel comfortable with their bodies. And as they feel comfortable with their bodies, feel comfortable with who you are as a person. And I think, you know, when women come into our studio, they always tell us, I came here to learn to dance or to learn to pole or to learn to do whatever the class is, but I've gotten so much more out of it because what I've learned is who I want to be as a person and that I have permission to be that, right? Women are told so many times that they have to be a certain kind of way to fit into society, and especially when it comes to their sensuality. I think allowing women a space to explore those things allows them to say, hey, I can be brave in other spaces too. I can be brave in my job. I can be brave in a relationship that I don't feel is beneficial to me. So that's kind of what we do, is allow a very comfortable space for women to explore the things that they want to explore.
Yeah, and to that point, how important do you think it is that women need to really discover whatever they're passionate about outside of work, and how important is having passions outside of work important to your overall job performance as well?
One, having something outside of work allows you to be able to take a break from that space, right? Some of us work a lot of hours. I know I work a lot of hours. Work is sometimes so embedded into our lives, especially now since many of us work from home. You have to have something else that fuels you, that excites you, that gives you passion to be able to leave that work behind and take a break from it. If you don't take a break from the work, it starts to burn you out. And I learned that, and right where I was making that shift at 40, I was working like 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. And work and my family was everything that I had, and that was burning me out. And I had to find something different, and I found dance and I loved it. It gave me a place to like rest my mind and just work my body. And that, I think, whatever it is, whether it's movement, whether it's art, whether it's writing, do something that gives you a break from your normal.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vivian, how would you define effective leadership at work for company executives or people who lead companies? How would you define effective leadership?
Effective leadership, that's big. Like, that's a big so one, I will tell you what I try to do as a leader. One, I try to honor my word. I try to ensure that I lead by example. I don't ask anybody to do something that I am not willing to do. And I think that supporting your people, I think that's a big piece of being a good leader, is supporting your people, being able to stand up for them when they need you. And also just being in touch with what is happening in your area, in your space. I think a lot of leaders, especially the ones that are higher up, end up being out of touch with what their employees do day to day. And that makes it very difficult to make decisions. So I'm not asking you to come and do my job every day, but I'm asking you to understand or put people in place who can really speak to what I do. And therefore, when you have to make a decision about my job, it's a good informed decision. So those are the things I think good leaders should have.
Yeah, and to that point, Vivian, I'm just curious to ask you also, how far do you think we've made in terms of progress when it comes to women equity and equality in the workplace? How far do you think we've come, and how far do you think we need to still go?
Um, we've come a really long way. There's so many more women leaders in my organization than there's ever been. And I think I see that across different industries, and also fairly male dominated industries are having more and more women leaders in it. I think where we need to start to really do the work is in the higher levels of leadership in organizations, and also in pay equity. So I think women still have an inequity when it comes to pay in various positions. And we are also sometimes expected to have more education, more work experience. We have to have more than what a man would be expected to have for the same job.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vivian, I'm also curious to follow up by asking you about how do you think women can get noticed more from leaders that can make those decisions? How do you think women can become more visible in the workplace?
The biggest thing is to speak up. A lot of women do not want to speak up because they don't want to be, embarrassed. They don't want to, they're afraid to be rejected or told no. But you will never be heard, or you will not be noticed if you do not speak up. So when you're in the meeting, voice your opinion, say what you have to say, but also be smart about it, right? Make sure that you are voicing, because a lot of times women voice opinions about feelings, how they feel. I always make sure that when I am voicing something or when I'm presenting something, regardless of how I feel, I back it up with tangible, objective data. So balance, feelings and data. But stand up, do more. As I was coming up, I volunteered for a lot of things. So sometimes it feels like, well, I don't want to do more than I have to do in my job, but I volunteered for the things that allowed me to be seen. So if there was a project that somebody needed, and it was going to be a project that the vice president was going to be on, or it's going to be presented in front of a lot of people, I volunteered for the project. I did what I can. A lot of organizations have groups. I know where I work, they have a lot of affinity groups like the African American Team Members Network or the Veterans Team Members Network that do a lot of good work in the organization. Those are ways that you could be seen by a lot of people by volunteering for different kind of projects. So speak up and find opportunities to showcase your work and do a good job. When you get that opportunity, you have to be the best that you ever been and showcase what you can do.
Maximize the fullest heights of your potential, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Vivian, as a leader, I'm fascinated to ask you, do you think there's a difference between being assertive versus having the need to really delegate to show that you have trust in the people in the team around you?
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a control freak, so that's always a struggle for me. But it's about trust, right? It's about trusting not your people where I found is it's about trusting myself, right? It's about being able to say, hey, Viv, you can let it go and it's going to be okay. And I had to really, and I still do every day, have to really tell myself, other people can do stuff as well as you. It is okay. You can let it go. You are not that amazing. Just, you need the help. And if you can get the help, you can use the energy to do something else bigger that you need to do. And that's something that I've been working on for the last few years in the studio is like, okay, bring on the help that you need so that way you can delegate these tasks that you don't need to be involved in. You don't need to be putting in the schedules for the classes. You need to be developing curriculum and programs for the studio. So it was a trust issue for myself and a growth that I needed to be able to trust myself to let things go, to allow other people to shine and grow, because that's the other thing. As a leader, you want people to shine and grow underneath you, and you can't do that if you don't give them the autonomy to do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vivian, my final question is appropriate today, since today's your birthday, and again, happy birthday to you. And I'm curious to end our conversation by asking you, how do you want your personal and professional legacy to be defined?
So legacy is something I've been thinking about. So I'm not afraid to tell my age. So I'm 49 today. So 50 is next year. And I think for some reason, 50 is a pinpoint where you start to really hone in on legacy and what you leave behind. I want to leave behind a message that says women can be whatever they want, and that we carve out a pathway for ourselves by holding ourselves accountable to the things that we do and the things that we don't do, and that we start to see ourselves in our own eyes and not the eyes of others. So I have 2 daughters, and I really want them to be able to feel comfortable with whoever they want to be, and know that the only limits that they have is the one that they put on themselves. So the work that I do is to really push that message forward for women is, hey, figure out who you are and what you want to be, and stand in that truth and be happy with it and be happy with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do we got going for the birthday today? I'm curious.
I am going to work today. No, I'm going to take some time, a little bit of time this afternoon to just chill, and maybe I'll go, have some lunch with some friends. But tonight I get to spend Friday night class with my ladies and have some good conversation and really dig into the work that we're doing. And you know what? I'm really happy with being in that space for my birthday. And then tomorrow I have dinner with my husband. So.
Absolutely. Vivian, I always said that it's important to celebrate all aspects of life, because you just never know who's watching and the type of impact you can leave behind, right?
Absolutely.
And Vivian, tell me, if people want to get connected with you, what's the best way they can do that?
You can find me on Facebook. I have a Facebook group for women. It's called Phoenix Ascension Framework, so you can find us there. You can find me on my website. It's just phoenixascensionmd.com, or just Instagram and email hello@phoenixascensionmd.com. So
fantastic. Well, again, Vivian, I wish you the happiest of birthdays, and I really want to thank you for the work that you do in women's empowerment, women's workplace diversification, and everything in between. I really enjoyed having this conversation with you, and I want to thank you for engaging in conversation with me and answering my questions. It's most appreciated.
Thank you for having me. I am honored to be on your show.